A great affordable EDC knife, something that is budget friendly yet high quality? Well, this may well be it, folks. This is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and this is a topic I cover often enough, EDC. It's important because it's what you have on you when you need it. By the way, if you want to learn more about survival, preparedness, Street Survival Skills has chapters dedicated to EDC, its uses, and some of the considerations you may want to keep in mind, as well as the economic aspect of preparedness covered in Surviving the Economic Collapse. Both available in the links there below, and if I do find this Ganzo knife, I will leave the link there. It's not always the case. If not, I'll leave links for something that's somewhat similar. So let's get to it. The unboxing, of course, very budget friendly, $19, $18 knife, about 20 bucks or less, and you cannot ask for a lot more than that. If you go lower, then quality starts suffering, and that's really not the idea. So FB knife, you may not be familiar with, but you may be familiar with Ganzo knives. Now Ganzo, and I like the presentation. I mean, the box is okay. Not that it really matters, because what matters is the knife, but yeah, this looks smart enough. I don't quite get why you get a little bag like this. Why is it just to carry the knife in there? I don't know. Anyway, we have our Ganzo knife. And why is it that I call it Ganzo knife instead of FB knife? Well, because it's one of these Chinese deals where, yeah, you have that little logo there, you have the FB knife, but it says made by Ganzo. And as you see there, it says 440C. So it's 440C is a very high quality stainless steel. It used to be considered even premium steel not that long ago. So if it is indeed, and I don't doubt that it is, because Ganzo is a company that has somewhat of a reputation at this point, and 440C is not really that exclusive. So yeah, probably 440C, which means it's a very decent stainless steel knife that will hold an edge and will be nice and tough enough within reason. It is a very narrow blade. You're talking about a small-ish knife, but let's look at what we have here. We have a little bit of a warranty, which is nice, 12-month warranty, right? So yeah, you have a year worth of warranty, and if anything goes wrong, you can go back to them. But let's check out what we have in our little folder. Nice orange color. There's different colors. I like this one because it's very visible, so it combines nicely with the stainless steel as well. Clip that can go in all 4 positions. Probably we want to change that for your own needs. And when it comes to the opening, it's just a hole, not exactly round, but more of an elongated hole, and it does its job okay, and locks nicely with a back lock, and it has even a little bit of a depression there, so as to avoid an accidental unlocking if the meaty part of your hand puts a little bit of pressure there. And if you're looking at this and saying, well, that looks very similar to some other knife, you're not wrong at all. It is actually very much the same as your Delica. Now, yeah, it's pretty much the same thing, guys. Let's be honest too about that. Now, this is not a counterfeit, which I would never do in the channel. I don't believe in counterfeits. This is kind of like a copy, and these things really, there's really not much you can do in terms of registering what a blade shape, a handle shape. You can register things like a specific locking mechanism, and then you have those rights, and companies cannot copy those things. But when it comes to, oh, it looks just like, well, most knives look just like something else out there. It's been thousands of years that we've been making them, so it's all been done already. Well, so the hole is different. I don't notice any difference. Actually, yeah, it's, well, the round hole is a little bit slightly more roundish and easier to open if we want to go down that, to those details. But man, it is pretty much the same thing. Both are very smooth, by the way, and they are sharp, as you would imagine out of the box. Very, very sharp. And yeah, I mean, you have to point out that for, what is it, that these go $60, $80? These are expensive, man. They're not cheap. They're very high quality, not cheap. These ones, well, 19 bucks is what I paid for this one. And man, it is hard to argue against it. Little details, okay? This is a little bit more rounded, so it is a little bit more comfortable. This is a little bit more square. It is reinforced on the inside in both cases. This is not just plastic. The reinforced injected nylon that they use here, I probably would guess that this is of a higher standard or quality than this one, but this looks solid enough. It's not as if it's peeling off or anything. So in terms of the quality of materials, both are very good. I would assume that Spyderco has a higher standard, which wouldn't be a surprise given that it's one of the best brands out there in terms of folders and pocket knives in general. So that would be one of the things that if I want to have the best quality of these two, yeah, of course, I would go with Spyderco. Now, if I want to have something that's very high quality yet for the price and will do most of the things that I need, man, it is very difficult to argue against the Ganzo. It looks sharp and nice enough. Blade geometry is the exact same thing, which is what matters the most if you have an okay heat treatment and somewhat acceptable steel quality. It's both cases are 2 millimeter thick, which is like a 3 and a little bit extra inch blade. So small little knife, big enough handle though for most hands, unless you have some huge paw. There's even like a little bit of little real estate left there. So it is a comfortable knife. Yeah, this one is a little bit more comfortable than this one. Practical difference? Practically, yeah, none. For most cutting tasks, forget about it. These will both probably break as easily if you start prying with those thin little tips. These are full flat grind knives. This means that it's going to be cutting nicely. It has a little extra bevel there so as to make it easier to sharpen, but full flat grind knives, they usually cut very nicely, mostly because it's a thin blade. So you have to be careful about that. The tip will be fragile if you start putting a bit of pressure and prying with that, but in terms of pushing forward in an extreme self-defense scenario where you have to use your little knife to defend yourself, I would not want to get poked with this thing, either one. Both will pretty much do the same thing. And for the rest of the cutting things, it will be just fine. It will be okay. Put an edge on it after using it every once in a while, and you're good to go. I mean, I find that it's usually easier with fixed blade knives to have budget-friendly or more affordable ones. Stuff like your Mora, right? A Mora is a very high-quality, super cheap knife made in Sweden. Your Glock knife, a tactical fighting bayonet knife made in Austria, and also rather affordable. Well, at least in Europe it is. So you have more alternatives, it would seem, in terms of fixed blades. When it comes to folders, because there is a little bit more of a complex builds, they tend to be a little bit more expensive, and it's difficult to find high quality affordable alternatives. And Ganzo does fill that role nicely. No, I'm not being paid by Ganzo. I bought this knife myself. I'm not sponsored or paid by them in any way. Just being honest and upfront and knowing what I know about knives, I just try to find options for all budgets. I know that a lot of people are struggling these days. It's always the case that you're not maybe don't have all that much disposable income, and throwing money at $100, especially for people that either don't have the budget for it, just don't want to spend the money for it, or the kind of people that you lose your knives all the time, or you trash them very hard. There's guys that are a little bit more careful, guys are a bit like, yeah, it's a tool, I'll just beat the crap out of it, and when it's done, I'll get a new knife. Well, it's a lot easier and a lot cheaper to get a second, third, or four different Ganzo knives than paying for nicer Delicas. But I'm happy with it. I think it's a great knife. I'll use it and see how well it holds the edge. But again, you don't have to be stupid. You don't have to break this thing to know that, yeah, the tip will break. It is not a prime bar of a knife. It's not even a fixed blade knife. It's a rather small-ish folding that is full flat and has a narrow tip, which does things very well, especially in that stabby functionality, but it comes with that in mind, that it's not going to be super tough, so forget about prying and doing anything silly with it. Guys, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this little video. See you on our next video. Take care.